Hello everyone, this is Arafon playing Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, but not just any Link to the Past. That would be, well, not boring, but a little poo-plain. Yeah, we're playing in the Randomizer, which I've done a number of streams on this already with various different settings, but there's one I've stayed away from, but I kind of want to try, but also it's a bit much, so I kind of toned it down a little. There's this the basic concept of the randomizer is it shuffles things around. Now you have your 7 pendants and 3 crystals, those are all shuffled around among each other, and then you have all the various items you get from chests and boss prizes and side quests and just lying on the ground sometimes. Those all get shuffled together too. That's the basic concept of it. But there's all sorts of different settings you can do, and there's one preset on the randomizer website called Nightmare, which basically makes things as chaotic and hostile as possible, pretty much. I guess it could be a little worse if it was changed the goal, but anyway. With the Nightmare preset, not only do you have the Keysanity, which means keys are shuffled over the world instead of staying in the dungeons. Not only do you have inverted world state, which means light and dark worlds are basically flipped. Not only do you have just beatable accessibility instead of full locations, which means if you don't need something to beat the game, you might not be able to get it at all. Not only do you have enemies shuffled, not only do you have bosses shuffled, not only do you have the most chaotic instrument shuffle setting, but on the full Nightmare experience, you also have expert item pool and functionality, which means there's a significantly reduced amount of what you can get in terms of things like parts and equipment. Then you have expert item functionality, which means a lot of your items just don't work as well as usual, like hookshot and boomerang can't stun things, potions barely work. It has shuffled enemy damage and health to their maximum settings, so enemies will have absurd amount of health and do absurd excuse me. Enemies will have absurd amount of health and do absurd amounts of damage to you, but also random. It would also have the Swordless setting, which means no swords. Again, all that seems a bit much. I might try it someday, but this is not that day, so I've rolled up something I call Litemare, like Nightmare Light. So I've set it back to normal item pool, normal item functionality, normal enemy damage, normal enemy health, randomized swords, so all that's in there, but we still have the Keysanity item shuffle, we still have the inverted world state, we still have the beatable accessibility, we still have shuffled enemies, we still have randomized bosses, and most interesting of all, I think, is what is called the Insanity entrance shuffle. Entrance shuffle is where if you walk into a door or a cave, where you go to is not necessarily where you would normally go to. Now, on most entrance shuffle settings, there are some restrictions on that. For even the most chaotic one that's commonly used, the crossed entrance shuffle, you still have restrictions in that if you jump in a hole, for instance, the well in Kakariko, wherever that goes to, when you walk back out of it, you'll come out of the connected entrance. So let's say you jump in the hole that goes to the well in Kakariko. When you walk out of wherever that is, you'll come out of the cave that goes to the well in Kakariko. It's just that whatever is in there is mixed up. With Insanity entrance shuffle, that's not necessarily the case. Any drop-down can go to any drop-down entrance, which can then exit anywhere. And furthermore, normally, even on entrance shuffle, if you walk into a doorway and walk back out, you'll be brought back to where you came from. In other words, entrances are coupled. Insanity entrance shuffle decouples entrances, except for single entrance caves. So you could, for instance, walk through the entrance of Eastern Palace, find yourself in the Kakariko's Elder's house. You walk back out the same doorway, you find yourself at, say, the bomb shop in the Dark World. You walk back into that, suddenly you're in the money-making game, one of the chess games. But since that's a single entrance thing, you walk back out, you'll be where you came from. That time, at least. So, yeah, that gives a lot of possibilities for some really neat shortcut chains. It also makes things completely ridiculous to keep track of, so I will definitely be taking lots of notes. Let's just call myself Litemare. And I roll this up on the 6th, so we'll call it 0606 for June 6th. And I think that's a Pokemon. I'm using randomized sprites as usual. I've turned off Palette Shuffle because it's going to be hard enough to keep track of things already without them all being the wrong color. Yeah, let's get started and see how this goes. Yeah, it is inverted, so we are starting in the Dark World equivalent of Open World, so you can start from your house, or you can start from the Dark Chapel, which is the Dark World equivalent of Sanctuary. Your house on the inside, anyway, is normal enough. And we get 5 rupees to start with. Yeah, I put it on fast menu, so that's a little quicker. Yeah, not using any special MSUs either, so I want the normal music because, again, it's already going to be disorienting enough already. Yeah, I think that's Lycanroc. Might be the Twilight form. And right away we are in the Dark World. Yeah, that's a Rockruff, so that's the bunny form. Yeah, another thing Entrance Shuffle normally does is Link's house is normally at Link's house. If you're an inverted, that is not the case. I think normal, even cross Entrance Shuffle will have to be somewhere in the Dark World on inverted, because Dark World has Light World functionality. But an Insanity with just doesn't care. So let's mark that off. Link's house exits to Brother's Right. And we can actually do a little bit as a bunny. We can at least go around, see what some things are. Like there's errors on race games, so I don't care about those. And of course, there are a lot of entrances we can check, because the Light World is pretty open. That's a major thing that tends to happen if you're playing any inverted mode, is there'll be probably more bunny walking than usual, just because if you can get into the Light World at all, that's, again, it's very open. So, okay, so let's try and put a system here. I'll put the outdoor part on the left, the indoor part on the right. So Brother's Right goes to Link's house. Cack Chest Game goes to Brother's Right. And this does have multiple exits, so if we come back out here, this will probably go somewhere completely different. And yeah, Brother's Right goes to the Lumberjack Cave. If we go back in the Lumberjack Cave, this takes us to... yeah, this is Ajina's Cave, popularly known as Fart Cave, because one of his replacement lines in the randomizer... No, he didn't say it this time, but one of his live replacement lines is something about how he farted really bad and scared out all those jazz hands guys. So this will come back out to the same place because that is a single entrance cave. So Lumberjack Cave goes to Agina. I'll just call it Fart Cave. Put a star, they say, to remind me that there is an item to get. You can't get that without bombs, and being able to use bombs. We cannot use bombs because it's inverted, so we're in the light world, so the functionality is all backwards. Enemies are shuffled, so we're getting weird enemy showing up. Those little things are technically considered enemies. Okay, it looks like there was nothing here at first, but this happens a lot in enemy shuffle in Mini Moldorn Cave. So the mini Moldorms will be replaced with those shadow creatures. So Lumberjack Hut goes to mini Moldorm. I'll put a star next to that. I can get a heart back from this, which will hopefully survive a hit or two. Yeah, the shadows do 2 damage with no armor. We got a snake here. Again, we are in bunny mode, so we can't pick things up. We can't fight enemies. We can claim some items. Okay, so this is one of the fairy caves from the mountain. There's nothing of importance here, but I will mark it off. Forest log goes to fairy cave. Call this the hookshot fairy cave because you need the hookshot to get across there. Again, this is single electric, so it will go back out the same place. There's a fish. If I could pick it up, I could take it to the water and toss it in and see what it gives me, but bunnies can't pick things up. You can't pick up the bushes to get to the drop down. You can't pick up these bushes to get to that heart container. Now we can see what's in here. It will not necessarily be connected to the drop down. In fact, it will almost definitely not. So this is Skullwood's middle left. So forest stump goes to Skullwood's middle left. Now, forest drop down, we have no idea where that goes, so I'll just put that on the list and put a question mark. Yeah, and I'll try to organize things by area to help keep track of where I haven't been. Yeah, so we can do a little bit of stuff here out of logic, actually. Actually, I think just getting grabbed is good enough. Yeah, there's a glitch called Bunny Fairy Bunny Revival. Which it also works if you get grabbed by hand. And the idea is the game isn't really expecting you to be in the Dark World without a Moon Pearl. So if you're in a situation where you come into a dungeon as a bunny... yeah, I saw that coming. Those things are not nice. If you're in a situation where you're in a dungeon as a bunny, if you die or get grabbed by one of those grabbing hands and taken back to the entrance, it will put you in not bunny mode, because I think what it is, the game assumes you were temporarily turned into a bunny by a bunny beam. Yeah, these are doing too much damage for now. Okay, let's see where this goes out to. Of course, if it weren't for the fact that this is out of logic to... Except it's... I guess it is out of logic, because... that was... Unless we can get to the other entrance. Okay, so let's see if I can read that. Forest Gump to Skullwood's middle left, which comes out Skullwood's front exit. And then Skullwood's front exit goes to Bumper Cave top. And this is yet again a cave with multiple exits, so this will take us somewhere else. Okay, that's Desert Palace back. But this will presumably go into somewhere else. I'm hitting the pause button instead of the start. Okay. Yeah, that was Rat Hut. which I will note is a death trap because of the spike roar. Yeah, that's something you can get a lot of in, enemy shuffle. Anyway, let's try the other starting point. This is the Dark Chapel, which should normally take us out to the Dark Chapel, which is the spot that corresponds to where Sanctuary is in the Light World. Instead, this brings us to, the bottom of Bumper Cave. So that was a single exit thing, so that should go back the same place. And it does. So, Bumper Cave bottom connects to Dark Sank. Okay, and the plan for this is to go maybe 20 minutes a session. At the time being, most of what we're doing is looking for interesting entrances. Okay, I wasn't sure I could squeeze past those. Right, was this a pullable tree? It was. So tree pull tier 1 is hearts. That's largely useless. There's another Lionel. Yeah, you'll see a lot of overworld winos in Enemy Shuffle, unless you're lucky. So, Dark Lumberjack comes to another fairy fountain, which is a single exit cave, so this will take us to the same place. Yeah, if we do a map check, we see our Pokeball as our map sprite. You'll also see none of the dungeons are appearing. This is because Map Shuffle is on, which means that we won't see what the dungeon prices are until we get the corresponding maps. So Dark Lumber is just a fairy cave. We can go into Skull Woods. I think the rule that Skull Woods entrances mostly stay in Skull Woods is still in place. But yeah, that entrance to the woods doesn't help because that doesn't connect to anything. Huh. Which just can block fireballs. Didn't expect that. We're probably going to be dying a lot. At least until getting some decent equipment. Alright, there's a fish. Yeah, I'll try throwing this in the water, see what happens. Because the stuff you get from throwing things in the water is also randomized in randomizers. You just don't normally see it because it's just too out of the way to bother. And it's unlikely to be anything of any significance. Certainly nothing critical. Let's get another heart from here. Okay, Cack Fortune Tower is a shop. This could actually be useful to keep in mind later, so... Actually, this is VOO, Village of Outcast. So this is a normal shop. I'll mark that with a $sign, so we know we can buy stuff there. Once I get money... So far we found 5 rupees in Link's house and 1 rupee from something else. Yeah, let's take a quick look in town. There are at least a few entrances we can get here. Yeah, we've got Wizards, we've got tentacle monsters, we've got chickens. Dark chickens, of course. Okay, chess game is Ganon's Tower. That's important. Let's put hashtags next to the dungeons so I can do an easy search for them later. So right away here we can get 2 items, but that's it. I will check down here just to see what's on the torch. It's just 10 arrows. I can't get at that anyway without the boots. Also, the dungeon music does not really mean anything. One of the side effects of... Okay, small key to Turtle Rock. And the map of Turtle Rock. Yeah, one of the side effects of maps being shuffled is that in addition to not being able to see what the prize is by checking your map, the dungeon music is also randomized between the Light and Rock World dungeon musics. Oh, right. Ganon Tower only has one entrance, but because it's not a cave but a dungeon, the exit is shuffled. Now, I'll call this Light Bumper Bottom, even though it's more properly the entrance to the Death Mountain Ascent Cave. If we go in here, this is another shop. That's in the same general area as Lumberjack, so I'll put it there. Again, we can't use this because you don't have money. I think you can buy things as a bunny, but again, you need to be able to afford it. Alright, let's check some more entrances. And wrap it up for now. Yeah, we haven't done that much yet, but hopefully you can already see what a mess this is, even without Swordless and enemies doing massive damage and everything else. Okay, so Sank goes to Fortune Tower. Don't care about this. And this is a single exit house or cave, so it comes right back at the same place. There's one more cave we can check over here. Actually, I think I could theoretically go all the way to the Witch's Hut, or is there stuff in the way? No, I think there's a bush in the way, so you can't get past that as a bunny. And this is another fortune tower, so... So note that the Sank drop-down is unknown. Useless Fairy is a fortune tower. And Useless Fairy drop-down goes to who knows. So, yeah, this is what we have so far. It's not a lot of information, but we haven't been playing all that long yet. And of course, this is a single entrance cave, so it comes back out to the same place. So, yeah. This has been Arafellin playing what I'm calling a Litemare. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past Randomizer. Come back next time and we will keep looking around, try some more entrances. I might even pick up from right here, because I think I can get to something more by going south and across the bridge. And literally any entrance could be something useful, especially with decoupled entrances, so bunny walking is going to be a thing.